Develop your skills, Exercise 3, Development 02, using logical functions. This is it. This is the big one. We've touched on this a little bit before, and now we're really going to go full bore into logical functions. You'll find that when you put them together, by themselves, they aren't that hard. The tricky part is getting a hang of them and learning to know how and what to ask for when you're using a logical function. Here's what I mean. When you first learn a language, you don't really have anything to grab onto in your mind. It's hard to compare it to anything because you don't have things like how do I ask for something? How do I say if or and or? How do I conjugate a verb? The mechanics aren't there. Once they get there, well, then it's just as simple as asking, hey, what's the word for this? Or quickly Googling, hey, what's the definition of this word? We can look up vocabulary all day, but it's getting those mechanics in there that help. Excel's the same way. Once you have the mechanics and you know how and where you're going to put your arguments in to ask Excel to do a lot of work for you, as soon as you have that, it's as easy as just kind of clicking the functions button and saying, oh yeah, that's the one I need. Really easy to look things up, but do not get frustrated here. This is one of the bigger hurdles, and you'll be pleased to know that as soon as you've cleared the hurdle once, you'll realize, oh hey, that wasn't so bad at all, and now I have so many new things I can do. Let's open up the workbook from the previous lesson and click on cell F5. What we want to know is, we're going to consider the goal, and if it's 25,000 or less, or if it's 50,000 or more, we want it to give us how much it was over or under goal for the year. So we're taking a look at our high and low rollers and seeing how they did. That means that we're going to say, hey, you know, if this goal is below 25,000, or if this goal is above 50,000, then we want to know how much they were over or under. If they're in between those, we don't really care because we've kind of budgeted for it. We can't just do this with an if statement. We can't say, if yes, then do this, if no, then do that. This is going to take a couple logical functions. It's going to start with if, so let's start there. Either click the logical drop down and select if you're on the formulas tab, or click the insert function, or you can always type equals if and hit tab. Let's follow the way the book's doing it. Insert function, click on if, and then click OK. Now it's going to give us the function arguments box. And remember, it only needs these guys in bold. So we're going to consider the goal, and we're going to say, and this is one of the odd parts, you have to type and first. B5 greater than or equal to 25000. Do not use a comma in between 25 and 000. We're going to use a comma here. Excel is going to read a comma as it's time for a new argument. So if we did this, then it would say if B5 is greater than or equal to 25, then 000, and that's not going to make any sense. Only use commas when you're separating an argument. Here's a new argument. If B5 is less than or equal to 50,000. Remember, for every open parenthesis, there has to be a closed parenthesis. There we go. B5. I just had B. And it'll let you know if you've got an error up here. Quickly give that one a visual audit and make sure it's all looking good. If they're equal to or outside of that range, or equal to or above that range, we're going to have it return whatever's in cell D5. If not, just put nothing in quotation marks. Quote, quote just means we're not going to write anything. We're going to type what's in between, and in between is nothing, so there we go. Now, when we write this down, it's going to return the value -500, which is this value here. But before you click OK, stop and look at this. If this is a little much to chew on, try the trick. This is what I usually do. Read it left to right, top to bottom, like you would on a page. And it reads almost straight across. If cell B5 is greater than or equal to 25,000, and that comma here means we're going to separate an argument. So if B5 is greater than or equal to 25,000 and B5 is less than or equal to 50,000, we want you to type whatever's in cell D5 into cell F5. If that's not true, if B5 is more than 25,000 and less than 50,000, we want you to type nothing. Are you seeing how this is coming together? Click OK, and it should return 25,000. You can read that one up here. This is where it starts to get a little tricky because we have equals if parentheses and parentheses. Each set of parentheses contains new arguments. So if we had if and, if, or, zor, if we had all these embedded functions, each different set of functions would have to have their own parentheses. This can become maddening. So click up here in this box and you'll notice it gets color-coded. Excel will help you out. You can see the red parentheses here and here telling you, hey, you need to have 2 red parentheses with no other parentheses in between. For every open, there has to be a closed. So we can see right away that red here and red here means, okay, this is our argument. B5 is listed in blue, just like it is down here, and then D5 is listed in red, just like it is over here. If things get a little dizzying, just click through, take a look at the colors, take a look at the sheet. Excel will help you break this down. Spend some time getting cozy with it. If we have these 2 arguments, then return this. If we don't, then return this, nothing. Nice and easy. Oops, I don't want F6 in there. Now remember, we only have to do this one once, and then fill handle's your friend. Pull it down, and let go. Cool, check it out. It's above 50,000, so it returned nothing, just like we asked it to. It's more than 25, it's less than 50 here. If in this case, we wanted it to return, bam, right there. There's our 25,000 again. Empty cells. Hey, this is all starting to look good. And when we fill handle down, you'll notice it followed D12, D11, etc., etc. And it's following with the B's too. B10, B10, D10. When we started up here, we're having this cell considered, and we're having this cell copied if our conditions are met. Whenever we move down, we want it to consider this cell and these conditions. Try to build in your head a picture of how this is working. When you say, I'm going to use the fill handle, try to predict what that formula is going to look like and see if you're right. Looking forward and learning to think in Excel is the best way to learn how to use these functions. Go through this video a couple times, and then also, what may help, try to set up this function. Go a little off book. Try to set up this if and function without using the fill handle down here. See if you can set it up and get nothing, and then fill handle down just one space and get 250. The function will be set up almost the same way, but you'll have to reach out to different boxes. You can do the same thing we've done here with just slightly different rows to get a better feel for how this works. And remember, 4 magic words: do not get frustrated. This just plain old takes a little time.